Good morning and welcome to my luxury garden. In the video today, I'm going to be doing some garden takedown this fall. I'm preparing everything for the winter season. In preparing for the colder months, I'll start with picking red and green tomatoes off of my tomato plants and make sure that none of them go to waste. Next, I'll be pruning them to make sure that everything looks tidy and that they can continue to grow as the colder months approach. I'm also just trying to get things tidied up so it looks aesthetically pleasing and so that we have clean walkways to pass through. Following that, I'm going to be gathering some dead foliage from cucumber plants to prepare my vegetable beds for winter. In particular, I'll be adding mulch to give them a cozy blanket so that my garlic bulbs, which have been freshly planted, will stay warm and cozy through the winter months. Last but not least, I'll embark on a general tidy up adventure, pulling some weeds, and restore a sense of beauty to my garden, which is starting to fade away. This video does take place over the course of a couple of weeks. Let's get into the video. Here we go! Getting cooler, so we need to pick the last of these tomatoes because garden takedown is going to be starting soon. So we're going to pick any of these remaining red tomatoes. Some of these tomatoes have some blemishes on them because they've been the last ones left on here after picking probably at least 50 pounds of these over the course of the summer and fall. So now we're down to these ones, but these are still good for sauce. Yeah. And I also want to try making some fresh salsa. So there's some blemishes again, but still totally fine for us. Yeah. Ooh, look at that one.
Whoa! Tomato.
Yes.
Let's rip it in half.
You think you could rip it in half?
No.
No. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And any that look like this and are green can be put in paper bags in the windowsill and they should ripen.
Yeah.
And its web is totally full.
Yeah.
Look at all of that.
Probably she's full now.
Yeah, it looks like it. A lot of hidden ones under these branches here. So we're going to dig through and grab these.
Yes. There's some.
So we've got our bucket over halfway full.
Yeah.
So we have a huge bucket of red tomatoes that are ripe and this huge bucket of green ones. And we still have a long way to go. I'll just back up a bit. This is already a huge improvement. Still working away, getting more and more tomatoes. So any branches that have been cut off, those are going to be put into the compost. And any tomatoes that are pretty icky, like this one for example, has fallen under here and it's pretty gross. I just put it back into the dirt here and the nutrition will go into the soil, or if you want you can put it in the compost bin, but I'm just throwing it in there because it's convenient. My compost bin is a little bit far away. So I've let some of these cucumbers go whitish yellow on the vine so the seeds have time to mature, and then these can be used for seed saving for the winter, and then I can plant the seeds from these in the spring. The rest of this is going into compost. And I just have to be careful because I have these water lines here, so I don't want to rip those up. And they've kind of curled around them, so I'm just being careful of that. set aside these for seeds. Keep going with this, but it's looking way better now. Nice and tidy. And then here's my pile of compost and the cucumbers I'm going to use for seed saving. All this brown stuff is going to be great for my compost because I needed this brown carbon to create compost. I have a lot of nitrogen-rich items that have been going in there, but not a lot of carbon-rich brown stuff, so this is perfect. Got all this brown stuff added in here and it's almost completely full. It's going to shrink down though over the next couple of days, and then I'll have room to add in even more because I'm starting all this garden takedown. So this is awesome for my compost. And here's the bed. You can just see there's a few remnants in there. And then now I can see my drip lines, and I've avoided them so I didn't do any damage to them. And we have somebody coming in the next couple of weeks, and they blow these out so that there's no water left in the system so that they don't freeze through the winter. So that will be done very soon. I am not going to rip everything out of this bed quite yet. It's nearing its end, but if you look closely, there's still some beans under here. So I'm going to harvest these and eat these after I've taken all of the beans off. Then I will rip all this out and put it into the compost once it's just died back a little bit more. You can see some of them here turning brown, which is perfect. That's what I want. You want gloves when you're taking down pumpkin vines. Spikes on them.
Why there? What?
Crunchy. This one still has. Oh, this one not one.
Look at that one. That one. Where's the number tackle?
There's a squash we can bring inside and eat. So we'll set that aside.
Squash are either yellow, green, either red or orange. Ones I do are like the yellow green.
Go. Now this is looking much tidier. I'm just going to clean up some of these remaining weeds now. And most of that went into my compost bin, which is now looking quite full, but that will shrivel down very quickly. Woohoo! Getting things tidied up around here. Now we have a walkway again. All all these little tiny bits. And for any weeds that are too small to pull, or too hard to grab, or I'm just feeling lazy, then I use this just straight vinegar and I pour it on there and they'll shrivel up over the course of a few days. Just pour this on. Works like a charm.
Are you too lazy?
Yep, feeling lazy to pull these ones. They're too small, my fingers can't get them in the gravel. So it's just a little bit easier to use the vinegar, and the vinegar isn't a chemical, it's a natural product. So, and this is just a walkway here, so I'm okay with using the vinegar here. But I don't use it all the time.
Why?
Because sometimes it's hard to get the full root of the weed in this gravel when they're too small. This is my veggie bed that I recently planted garlic bulbs in. I've added a layer of leaves on top as mulch, but it gets windy around here, so I've put down the trellises that I had my beans on this year. And I'm just gonna lift that up and add a few branches that I got from the beach, and that should help secure the leaves down when it gets windy. These branches will also break down and add some more nutrition into the soil. And if they're not broken down in spring, I'll just add them into the compost bin as well. As I get more leaves that fall as well, I'll add those on top of this. I'm just going to be slowly layering things to create a mulch on top of this bed to protect the garlic cloves. These branches are just going to help the leaves stay down since it gets so windy around here. And then I'll put the trellises on top of the branches, and that'll help secure it even further. And it's going to act as a bit extra insulation for these garlic bulbs. And then when more leaves fall off of the trees around the area, I'll lift these trellises up again and put more. These tomato plants are still getting tomatoes. It's unbelievable. So many tomatoes to harvest. I can't believe it.
Why?
They keep coming and coming and coming.
Why?
So I'm gonna cut off these big branches and pick even more because they aren't gonna grow. I don't think at this point they're going to be starting to produce new ones. I think it's just gonna be the existing ones ripening. So I'm going to start cutting down some of these stems to just tidy things up for fall. This one I'm going to cut off because these 3 tomatoes here are rotting, so I'm just going to chop it. It can go down into the ground there and it will just be its own compost. Just going to chop it up really fine like so, and then it will go back into start breaking down in the soil here. There's still some blooms here, I just noticed, so maybe I will leave some of this still. I'm just going to tidy it up because it's quite messy. So I'll tidy it up, but I'm going to leave that because maybe those will form some new tomatoes. We do have a lot of bugs and bees around here, so it's possible, and it's still sunny, as you can see. As you can see, this pathway here is completely covered, so I'm going to be just tidying things up here so that it's just a bit more of a nicer walking path now that things are dying off a bit. So trimmed up these tomato leaves here, and I'm going to keep going with that.
Yeah.
Our strawberry runners, they've grown off of these strawberry plants and they're propagating themselves. So that's taking energy away from the main plant, and it's overtaking our walkway. So I'm going to trim all these, snip, step. If you want to, these can be replanted in the dirt, so I'll probably do that. I'm just going to trim this up so we can walk through more easily. Because here we have a watermelon, but the rodents have gotten to it, so I'm gonna chop this off.
Is that me?
Nope, these are the strawberry runners. Have a pile going over here.
Tell me, can you 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 really tell me?
This is way better. Now I can walk through here. I'm gonna pick some more tomatoes and keep going. This is super bushy here and full of tomatoes, so I'm gonna tidy this up and keep picking more. As you can see, I've got a lot already, but there's still more in here I'm gonna keep going with. It's getting better over here, a bit tidier now that I'm getting the tomatoes away from these asparagus plants. These are asparagus here. The tomatoes were growing all the way over into them. So I'm just tidying all this up, but I'm gonna go to the other side. I've left some bits that maybe will grow a bit more, and any gross looking tomatoes, I just let them fall in here and do their thing. I'm also tossing some over here because eventually a new garden's gonna go here. And right now the soil is quite poor, so just by putting that there, I'm hoping it's gonna kickstart some sort of improvement in the soil. Okay, this is way tidier now. You can see there's a very small asparagus plant. The fawns right here are quite small compared to, say, this one here beside it, because it got smothered by the tomato plant through the season. Hopefully it will still survive though, but this is just way tidier in here. I'm really happy with that. I'll come in later and tidy it up, these asparagus, once they all turn more of this color. So this is now a clear walkway. This section has all been tidied up right here. More space for the asparagus to breathe. And once that all turns brown and yellow, I'll cut that down. Tomatoes are still going. There's still yellow flowers on here, so I'm leaving that. This here looks fabulous. And then this is the bed that I just mulched because I have planted garlic bulbs there. So happy with that. So takedown still continues. I'm just waiting for everything to go through its process, and I'm just kind of slowly taking things down along with it. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching me as I completed some fall tidy up activities in my garden. Everything is winterized and looking so much better and tidier, and I'm starting to hunker down and think about spring. I hope you are too, and I hope that this inspires you to get out there and garden yourself. Happy gardening!